Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special treat. So, what you're looking at now is the finals of the Battle Hardened Wallonia, Icelander's last constructed game, and I have with me here the very generous Oster Gomez, who donated his time and his phone to help record this game at my request. I'm very grateful. Thank you for joining me, Oster.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure. This was a really fun event, which I took part of. Unfortunately, didn't make it to the finals, but had a great time regardless. Huge shout out to Sod Games for hosting us and for the judge team that did an amazing job all weekend. And yeah, we're about to watch Icelander's last game. Spoiler alert.
So what we have here is Kevin Zänker on the right, playing Iyslander, of course, and Albert Guyo on the left, playing Dromai. Both of these players went through a grueling. How many rounds was it? This battle hardened?
7 rounds of Swiss, and then top eight, so three more rounds after that.
Yeah, 9 rounds to get to this game, and we started off, of course, with the gold turn 0, starting to generate that ash.
Yeah, key play for Dromai to get that ash economy going, and also helps you filter, grab a new card,
Of
kind of
course,
set up for what's coming next.
yeah, playing the royal head, so we're like liable to see some tomes in this. And dragons on turn 0 is, I know, never what you want to see as the Iyslander.
Yeah, I liked, I maybe we didn't hear it, but I liked the Icelander player's comment where he says, "I'm never gonna respond to a tome, so just let it resolve and see what happens from there."
Pretty standard equipment layout. So we see Cornet Peak, Metacarpus nodes, and Tunic on Icelander's side, Snapdragon Scalers on the Dromai side. So more of an Empress build, less big dragon. We're probably not liable to see Tome of Fjendals in this list.
Yeah,
But a very Go ahead.
I think that I said the Dromai player is running a few blues, and from what I had heard up until this point, the tomes and the blues were very key to him getting through an Icelander in the semifinals to get to this point.
This is an extremely disciplined play from Kevin, pointing an Aether Ice Vein not at Dromai's face, but to kill that Asfly that we saw. Of course, 2 chip damage in from the Waning Moon, so we're still getting ahead a little bit. Oh, and there's one of those tomes that we were just talking about.
Yeah. This is where Dromai gets an edge, generates tons of resources, and enables the furnace right away.
Yeah, literally turn 1 of the game with a 5-card hand. This is a very scary situation to be in as Iyslander for sure.
Yeah.
Although, if you were paying attention to Kevin's hand earlier, there's a very key card in Arsenal right now. The first Channel 8 Frigid.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, he holds it back until... maybe you can explain why it's better to play it after the tome resolves?
Yeah, so Dromai is going to have these 2 resources from tome no matter what. So playing the CLF out before the tome resolves isn't actually you're not going to stop them from gaining those resources, and you're in fact giving them more information about which cards they want to pitch. Then they're more inclined to pitch their more expensive cards and hold their less expensive cards. And
Fair.
So if you want to hold the Frostbite until after they've resolved tome, and then kind of bait them into holding those more expensive cards that they're trying to kind of cheat into play with those quote-unquote free resources, then you can perhaps blow them out with the Frostbite. Instead, what we're seeing Kevin do is, again, take a very disciplined play. This is very... it's not flashy, but it's really strong to see not pulling the trigger on that CLF, and instead... knowing that, hey, if I sit on this and I just block out on this turn, eventually I'll be able to use my Tunic for Waning Moon as well and kind of get maximum value out of my 2 cards.
Yeah.
Block on the Mirror Guy. Dromai quite scary.
Being developed. Yeah. Very disciplined again to hold that back until it becomes E and the popper at the right time here to get Dromai off the board.
That is a very well-timed popper, yes. Dromai still, of course, has 1 action point because of Chromai's effect.
Yes. reveals Enlightened Strike, roundness for 4. No blocks.
And what's the last card here on this tome turn? Passing Mirage.
Passing.
This is quite the scary situation to be in. I think Kevin actually comments on it here, but 2 Phantasm prevention effects is... yeah, you can hear him say it there. But it's very difficult to pop the first Trident for really the rest of the game with Mirror Guy and a Passing Mirage are out. Having 2 answers for both of those cards is a big ask.
We can also see here, he plays the final Fighting Spirit, targeting Dromai. So I think it's pretty clear from this point that he's going to ignore the dragons and go straight to face and chip down Dromai as much as possible and get the life total, keep the life totals close.
Yes, I mean, we're seeing Dromai lower life than Iyslander right now. Of course, still very early in the game, but 10 life below tends to be kind of that magic number for Iyslander, and the fact that Dromai is below Iyslander means that Iyslander is quite far ahead. Yenderai coming down here. One of the more annoying dragons in the matchup. You either have to throw 6 full damage at it, or it's just going to stick around for forever.
Yeah. And especially because Iyslander doesn't have that many attacks that could like remove the counter or take it out straight away. I think we're gonna see the dragons stick around for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So attacking for 3 without Phantasm here.
Without Phantasm is something I think we're going to be seeing a lot in this game.
Yeah. The first attack is pretty much never going to have Phantasm at this point.
Blocking 3 with the Frost Hex, that's perfectly fine. These matchups really tend to not need the Frost Hex combo anyways. Dromai, on average, has like 4.25 resources per hand. And so regular old arcane damage without the combo kill tends to get you there. But this is a, free attack off of the Enderai into an E-Strike for 7. We are really being very efficient with our Dromai damage here. This
time
another play that's awkward, because this is a blue Aether Ice Vein, so we're only looking at 3 damage here.
But it does demand a card because of the fuse.
Yes, so notably, this Dromai is currently on AB0. They have the Silken form available as Quell, which can turn into an Ashwing, but, this Ice Vein will hit.
Yeah.
There's already a card in Iyslander's arsenal, so it's very unlikely that Kevin holds this Frost Hex. I would expect a Waning Moon for 2 follow-up as well.
Pitching the Frost Hex.
Mm-hmm. It looks like this Dromai is taking the 3, discarding.
Double checking the life totals.
The discard is another Yenderai.
And 2 from the Waning Moon comes through.
Yes, life totals are still scarily even for this Dromai player. But remember what's in Kevin's arsenal, and that Tunic has now reached the magic number of 3.
Yeah. I like that he was patient with the CLF here, and he could use the resource from the Tunic to Moon on the same turn.
Mm-hmm. Very efficient use of damage for sure. This was a very board development heavy hand for Dromai. Rate the Embers, Kyloria, and Yenderai all in the same hand, and a Chromai.
And a Chromai. Wow.
Yeah, this would have been a devastating turn if this Channelite Frigid wasn't coming down.
Yeah.
I think, personally...
And stripping the card on the Iyslander's turn as well.
Yeah, that Ice Vein ends up being very important as to not let 2 high priority dragons being played this turn. We're seeing Rate the Embers played here as the red. presumably we're just looking to generate Arcane Barrier through the form of Ash Wings without having to pop our Silken form, which is exactly what we see. And after the Furnace, there's even resources left to swing Yendurai through the Channel 8 Frigid.
Is there an argument here to play the Dromai or Kyloria first before Wake the Embers?
There's an argument for Kyloria, perhaps, but I am no Dromai expert. I just know how to kill the dragons. Red Aether Ice Vein this time, so this is exactly what you want to see if you want to stay in this game staring down this board state. There's an Ice Bolt in the pitch, so Channel 8 Frigid will survive.
And another ice card for the fuse.
Mm-hmm. The board state is looking scary, but the life totals are telling a different story right now.
Yeah. And the Channel Lake is really helping the Iyslander mitigate what the Dromai is able to do in this situation.
Absolutely. Only one Ash as well for the Dromai, so resource management is being a very real consideration in a lot of these decisions. We saw just 2 Ash Rings made off of the Rake the Embers, for example.
True.
This is a really critical point in the game, and that's why we see so much tanking on what's the discard here, or even if there's Arcane Barrier Prevention as well, because that's on the table now with the Ash Rings in play. It's likely, with an Ice Bolt in the arsenal and Channel 8 Frigid surviving, and having to give up a card here, that there's not going to be much of a turn in terms of attacking with dragons. So a lot of the damage calculus in terms of what are these cards worth in my hand has to be reevaluated, which is, I think, exactly what we're seeing here.
How scary is Iyslander's turns with a full grip? Like, maybe it might be worth here pitching a few cards to AB and to the discard effect and just pass and wait for the CLF to go.
Mm-hmm. So we have seen no Star for a Stars, and with every turn that we don't see them, it becomes more likely that we do. That card obviously... Traditionally,
on the Iyslander side?
On the Iyslander side. Traditionally, that helps extend the turn. We're actually in a strange scenario here where Iyslander is up on life. But outside of that exact card, it really takes more like a Aether Ice Vein to fully utilize the hand. Looks like a Yendurai pitch, giving up an Azvali to generate some Ash and swing the dragon, 1 card in hand to Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
And we see something really unfortunate from Kevin here. He's drawn up, and there are no ice cards in hand, so he can't fuse anything, and this Channel 8 Frigid certainly is dying this turn cycle.
Playing the Ice Bolt from Arsenal.
Mm-hmm. Just clarifying, targeting at Dromai, not at the attacking Yendurai. This Ice Bolt with the Endurance counter wouldn't kill Yendurai.
Yep, that's correct. It would simply remove the counter because it doesn't even go beyond the prevention.
Mm-hmm. And with the Frostbite generated on top of the Channel 8 Frigid, this Dromai has a very interesting problem of needing to Furnace to get potentially 1 more attack versus arsenaling that card. It looks like we're opting to hold the card for a future turn.
I don't think they played a red card this turn, so the dragon doesn't even have go again. I think the plan was to arsenal that card from the beginning.
Great point.
What surprises me, though, is that Iyslander has managed to get ahead in life totals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is definitely a scary lead for the Iyslander to have realized if you're sitting down from the Dromai perspective. But as we look at Kevin's hand here, and something I think he's realizing as well is not only are there no ice cards, there's really no high priority arsenal targets in this hand. You don't really want to arsenal Brain Freeze or Ice Eternal or really Blue Aether Ice Vein. And so the question becomes, am I willing to give up my arsenal on this turn cycle for 3 guaranteed damage right now on this Waning Moon? Dromai with Channel 8 Frigid and Frostbite and 1 card in hand is locked out of taking any game actions, so it's almost 3 unpreventable damage, which is exactly what we see here.
Very good point.
And now there's the real gamble of, is this going to be a no arsenal turn cycle? Absolutely no disruption, just send me the bill, Dromai. There's a Wounded Bull in hand. That's always a perfectly fine play to send it face or kill one of these dragons.
Well, the bill right now is Mirgai, which attacks for 2, if I'm not mistaken, Yendurai, and 2 Ashwings. So that would be a total of 7 damage.
Total of 7, assuming no other cards played from hand, yeah.
Yeah.
Dromai being very patient, giving 2 cards, saying, look, my life total is really important resource right now to stay above that kind of 13 kill range where Iyslander starts to threaten with Storm Striders to win the game on the spot. Yendurai, Rabble flipping Thamai.
Thamai causing quite a few headaches for Iyslander if it hits the board.
Yes, that card is always scary for sure. Essentially demands an answer right away. And now we're starting to see this dragon board finally swing out uninterrupted, right?
Yeah. Well, at least the first attack, because no Phantasm, right?
Yes.
I think we can sneak peek at a Command and Conquer in Kevin's hand.
And one of those Star for Stars I mentioned earlier. Be interesting to see if that kills this Mirgai that's been sitting out all game, or if we are intent on in killing our opponent at this stage in the game. Again, these life totals are even, which means that the Iyslander tends to be quite ahead. You strike for 7, so very heads up play to avoid walking into the popper, just saying, listen, I can threaten more than half your life total in this turn without you having really any agency since you don't have an arsenal.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, very heads up to play around that popper. Interesting though that you don't choose go again. No blocks declared here by Iyslander.
Oh, and there's the reach. Is this the Snapdragon turn? I think the players right now are actually discussing that. It's just, do you want to snaps? It's worth 4 damage. 4 cards in Iyslander's hand. And there it is.
So that takes away half of Iyslander's remaining life. And there is the popper.
That is a brutal outcome to get essentially no value out of the snaps.
Yeah.
We are back down to a much more typical life total discrepancy, I would say. Yeah. But for one of the first times this game, Star for Star is now turned on and has go again because Kevin is lower life.
And Dromai was targeted here, so Iyslander is still maintaining that pressure on Dromai's life total.
And here we have a fused Brain Freeze. So we've seen 2 Ravenous Rebels, no sand covers, only a handful of dragons.
Oh, and here 2, is that Miraging Metamorph?
Those are 2 Miraging Metamorphs and 1 Thamai, which we saw to the Ravenous Rabble. That is a whiff on Brain Freeze. Brutal. But
yeah, so, like the players are saying, that is a rough reveal for the Brain Freeze.
It's actually kind of funny both ways because both players are losing out here. So there's no card strips with Brain Freeze, but there's also notably the only go again in this hand is Thamai. Miraging Metamorph does not have go again. Snapdragons were just spent last turn. So this is it. This is just attacking for 7.
And Thamai cost 2, so playing that, you know there's a nice card in Arsenal at this point. So if you play the Thamai out, your turn ends there.
But what is important about this is because of that passing Mirage, it's been there since turn 1, this Miraging Metamorph does not have Phantasm. It must be blocked fairly.
And it presents lethal.
Yes, this demands a block, in fact. Tale as old as time. Waning Moon before Furnace resolves.
Yeah. So Furnace resolves, Moon resolves, draws a card from Cold Snap.
Kevin with a pretty solid hand here. We see two poppers, a Polar Blast, it looks like, to probably throw an Arsenal for next turn. But remember, these poppers are not online, so
Yeah.
if he wants to block with just one card, he's going to be dangerously close to 0 life.
Yeah. Well, one is more that like it's just what you need. If you're at one when your opponent's at 0, that's enough to get.
Absolutely. The game is not over until the wizard is at 0.
It's been a very close game and very well navigated, I think, from both sides.
Yes, and what a comeback this has been from that start. I mean, Tome turn 0, Tome turn 1, there was an Asvalai turn 0.
Yeah.
We've seen dragons stick on the board essentially all game, and Kevin has battled through it all to relatively even life totals going into these last few turns of the game. Interestingly, we've seen Coronet Peak activated 0 times this game.
That is true. It's standing there. It might just be a 2 block at this point in this game.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Temper 2 or Battle Worn 2 or Blade Break 2, life is life.
Life is life. That is correct.
We also still have that. Go ahead.
Well, right now, I was gonna say, funnily enough, there was 3 Icelanders in the top 8 of this Battle Hardened, and all 3 won of their quarterfinals to make it to the semis.
Yeah, it was 1 Dromai and 3 Icelanders, right?
Yeah. So yeah, the Cornet, they're blocked for 2 with along with CNC, so 2 damage went through.
Kevin remarking on what we've been discussing, that what a comeback this game has been. Most of these dragons have been on the board the entire game. Just a constant threat. But it's just hard to outvalue a 2-card 8 when your opponent has Stormstriders.
Yeah. So taking 2 card here, we're going really low on life totals. And Stormstrider's just waiting to give the Icelander that extra turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're privy to know that Kevin has a Polar Blast in Arsenal. So he needs exactly a red Metacarpus, a red Aetherice Vein with Metacarpus nodes and Waning Moon, and his opponent to be at 0 resources in hand to have a confirmed kill this turn. And from the Dromai side, you see exactly what you want to see, a 0-cost starter and getting to hold a card in hand.
Yeah, activating Go again on all the dragons. I'm just waiting to see if it'll cost him extra. There's a Polar Blast giving a Frostbite.
Oh, and a Emeritus scrolling in the pitch zone, which is very suspicious because it means your opponent probably has another one in hand.
Yeah, usually that's probably one of the cards you want to Arsenal to close out the game.
Absolutely. Tunic is on 3 damage from the Waning Moon through. And so now it's just a question of, can Kevin survive this turn to get that Emeritus we see in hand into his arsenal?
So pitching a Snatch to pay for the Frostbite. Yendurai coming in for 1 and 3.
Mm-hmm. And this is a very heads-up play. You know, there's no arsenal. Stormstriders are up, but we're looking at this Iyslander and saying, listen, I know exactly what you're capable of. I know you need exactly one card in your deck that we've already seen a copy of. If you kill me this turn, I'm calling you don't have it, and I'm calling that I can strip cards out of your hand.
And using the resource right before blocking with the tunic as well.
Yeah, so the resource stopped the Burn Them All Arcane, and now we're seeing Kevin say, we are in the end game. I'm giving up my equipment. All that I care about is keeping cards in hand to kill you. There was actually the use of the Silken Form that turn cycle generated an extra Ashwing.
Yeah.
Both Arcane Barrier and an offensive threat.
Well, he didn't have the resource there to pay for the arcane using the... But it could have been used for in both ways there.
And once again, Kevin being relentless with these attack actions.
Yep, targeting Dromai, demanding cards once again.
Yeah, for the first time this game, actually, Dromai is compelled to block because this is lethal.
Yeah. Do you ever put the Furnace in front of this? Like, Furnace is kind of a key card for Dromai as well, because they can respond after they played a red card to try and get resources before they die.
It's very tricky. So in most matchups, it's just a question of, am I confident on my Ash for the rest of the game? But you're right. Furnace generating resources as extra utilities here. I think when you're this low, though, you probably need to admit that this one guaranteed life can certainly outweigh the potential for life in the future. Seems like Albert is really vexed by this hand, though.
Yeah, I think I saw an Oasis in his hand. Oh, and he's going to use it right away.
Pitching to the Oasis here, yeah. Only preventing 5, or, total blocking 5.
And missing out on the life gain from Oasis as well.
With 2 cards in hand and 4 life, we know that Kevin has an Emeritus scolding.
Oh, and the
Tome of Imperial Flame.
This time he's responding.
Snapping off the Storm Striders.
Yeah.
There's the Aether Ice Vein.
Oh, stripping that last card. Well, he has Ashwing, so he can EB. Oh, and it's a blue. But yeah, one gets through and Waning Moon takes down the rest.
Only Arcane Barrier 2, and between the Ice Vein and Waning Moon, that will be lethal.
Yeah. Great game.
Yeah. What a comeback from turn 1 Tome and those dragons just living the entire game.
Yeah. And the Tome passing, not blocking very well there. So, that's why the Oasis had to be used on the previous turn.
Certainly a rough hand to draw at that stage in the game.
Yeah. You want to see those Tomes much earlier.
Well, there we have it, folks. Iyslander's last classic constructed game, the 1000th Living Legend point, earned none other by Kevin Zänker himself. A frequent repeat in terms of putting up results on Iyslander, and I can't think of anyone better to help her cross over the finish line. Oscar, it's been an absolute pleasure. I just wanted to say once again, thank you so much for doing this in the first place, for being able to get this recording. Thank you to the players and the game store that was hosting this, Sod Games, as well as the entire judging staff. There's a lot of moving parts that came together to make this video possible, and I am so unbelievably grateful.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. There's a funny story behind that, but I'll save it for later. It was a pleasure being there. Had an amazing time in Belgium and during the Battle weekend. And hope maybe we'll see each other soon at one of these events.
I would love that. I definitely owe you a drink. Thanks for watching, everyone. Of course. And thank you for watching at home. I hope that you enjoyed this little snapshot of Flesh and Blood history. We'll catch you later.